Back, and this time we'll be discussing the use of digital computers in process control, primarily in three different ways. And of the three different ways, we shall be deliberating in detail. The first two, the third one is exactly not in the scope of our syllabus as such, just mentioning over here. The fundamental revolution induced by digital computer in the practice of process control is virtually unlimited intelligence that these computers exhibit, so they can be actually put in this intelligence can be put in use for controlling a process. So with this intelligence, it means that we can actually implement much more complex and sophisticated control laws which otherwise without the use of computers were not possible. Furthermore, the digital computer with its easily program inherent intelligence can learn as it receives measurements from the process. It's a self-learning thing. It's machine learning as we call it these days. It can change the control laws. It can discover the laws. It can discover the patterns. Everything comes in AI these days, as you know. These can be implemented during actual operation of the plant. We do need a computer. You cannot have machine learning without computer. So if you have a look at it, the three different ways in which we can use digital computers in process control one by one. The first one, as we see, is direct digital control. We call it as DDC. So this computer which is used, the industrial computer which we use, it looks something like this. This can be used in direct digital control. This can be used in supervisory control. This can be used in scheduling control and so on and so forth. This is how it looks like. The industrial computer, it looks like this. Coming back to the first mode that we discussed, the direct digital control or DDC. What happens in this DDC is that you have, as usual, a process. The process has inputs, and these inputs can be manipulated in inputs, or these can be disturbances. This has outputs. The outputs can be measured outputs, or the outputs can be unmeasured outputs. These measured outputs, in whatsoever form they are, in analog form or whatsoever form of voltage or current, they are first converted using some computer interface. Normally we call it A to D converters or some other signal conditioning units, so that whatsoever are the outputs available from the process can be made available to digital computer. So these are some signal conversion units. Similarly, the language which computer talks, or the signal which is given by the digital computer in the digital form, is converted into some other form, which can be voltage, which can be pressure to regulate the valves and so on and so forth, and they go in for the manipulated variables which affect the process. So you have some conversion taking place here, and you have some conversion taking place here, and apart from that, what is happening inside the computer, and we have to have some control on this computer also. So this is done with the help of yet another block, you can say, over here, which is called the operators console. So this is direct digital control. And friends, in the previous days, as I call it, we used to have a single digital computer, one single digital computer measuring 300 to 400 inputs, going in for computing all the outputs, giving several, tens and hundreds of manipulated variables, 50 manipulated variables, 100 manipulated variables, even more manipulated variables, one by one going to the process, and everything is happening at a fast pace, and everything is brought to the digital computers. Number of one limitation of this kind of thing is that the number of lines, the number of signals, the number of wires that are coming, that increases to much extent. And number two, Apart from that, the major risk is that if this digital computer, if this fails, there is nothing in the process that can work in its stand-alone system. This is the biggest problem. First problem is all the communication lines, they have to be brought to this central computer. All the communication lines from the computer have to go back to the process. The process may be spread over miles, and such large number of wires going to the process, from the process to the digital computer. All these can be very costly, and the biggest problem is that in case this DDC, this direct digital computer, which is controlling this entire thing, if this fails, then the whole process goes down. So we have to make some compromise here and there. So this DDC is not applicable as such, but then in its variation, in its variants, you can call it, in its new avatar, as you call it these days, it is still there. We will discuss this maybe sometimes later in the course. So whatsoever you have understood by looking at this figure, we will just try to put it in text in the coming few slides so that it may be easy for you to pause the video and read, because some people learn by listening, some people learn by reading. So as you have seen about the digital control, the direct digital control, the computer receives directly the measurement from the process and are based on the control laws, which these laws are already programmed and they reside in its memory. They calculate the value of manipulated variables. These decisions are then implemented directly on the process by the computer through the proper adjustment of final control elements. And these final control elements, as we have discussed earlier, can be valves, can be pumps, can be compressors, can be switches, and so on and so forth. The speed can be varied through speed controls, all that we have already discussed. The direct implementation of the control decisions give rise to the name. The very fact you have direct digital control, the name itself means everything is directly converted, directly controlled by a single computer placed somewhere in the process, from where all communication takes place to and fro from the process and the computer. So the interfaces, as we had seen in the figure, also before and after the computer, are hardware elements. They are used to provide the compatibility in communication between computer and the process. The process may be giving some analog outputs, computer receives digital, so you need a conversion, you need level conversion, you need format conversion from analog to digital, and then back from digital to analog in case you want to move from computer back to process. And we have the human operator, which can interact with the computer and affect the operation of the computers through the human operator console. So this is what we had seen in the block. A typical plant, as I said, can have something like 300 to 400 control loops placed directly under DDC, and that actually increases the risk. This is what I'm mostly worried about, that the number of wires is too much, too high, and then the risk of DDC failing is too high. Because of that, these days we do not go much for DDC kind of control. Uh, because repeatedly, I'm telling you that if this computer fails, the whole plant may come down. So what we do is we go in for its variant, its new avatar. We will be discussing about this distributed control system, as we call it as DCS, in some advanced course. The second type of control is supervisory control. Here what we do is that instead of having one DDC for the entire plant, we go in for large number of DDTs for small number of units. So here, instead of having one DDC for the entire plant, and let us say we have 1000 units, we go in of say 100 such DDCs, each controlling 10 points. But then to coordinate for all these DDCs, you have to have supervisory control, which gives us the bigger unit, because we want to optimize the plant. So we want to have a complete eagle's eye view of the plant. So what will be the best operating point? What will be the best operating policy for the plant? So these DDTs, they can control the process, but to control how to control they know, but where, which point they should be controlled, because all these DDCs are for the complete plant, and we have to know that unit 1 is interacting with unit 2, unit 2 is interacting with unit 3, and we have, let us say, total of n units, and each unit is having, let us say, 10 plant, 10 points or 50 points or 100 points under one DDC. So all these DDCs, they need to be supervised from yet another computer, which will decide, which will give a clear cut indication that what should be the set point for this DDC, what should be the set points for this DDC, and what should be the set points for this DDCs. So it's all placed under one computer supervisory control. So these are the smaller processes. This is first process, small process, second process, third process. All these processes are also interlinked because you have one chemical plant which can be having large number of smaller units producing different things, consuming different things. There has to be proper balance in all these, and therefore DDC for this process must know what DDC for this process is doing, must know what DDC for this process is doing, since it cannot directly communicate with each other because it's busy controlling this plant. So all this information goes to this supervisory control, and supervisory control in turn dictates what this DDC has to do. It also dictates what this DDC has to do, and so on and so forth. So this becomes the theme for supervisory control, that is to optimize the overall operation as well as to keep an eye on the complete plant as such. So this is done under supervision of this computer, which is called supervisory control. And the second advantage of going in for supervisory control, which is not mentioned in most of the textbooks, is that if we have a good supervisory control, then we can have large number of DDCs, and large number of DDCs means that we have reduced the risk of failure, because if one small DDC fails, the same thing can be assigned or it can be put, because if something happens to this, the whole plant doesn't fail and it can be somehow controlled. So that is what we call it as DCS, or direct, we have distributed control system. We will not be discussing distributed control systems right now. That will be done in the advanced course. I'm repeating again and again. And this is the kind of thing which is an improvement over DDC, that instead of having one DDC, we have large number of DDCs, and they are put under supervision of this control over here. So let us see whatsoever we have discussed over this figure. We keep this figure in mind and see the same thing in text in the coming few slides. So I'm repeating that the incentive of process control is optimization of the plant, and one human operator cannot think of what's happening in the entire plant. So what policy that human operator has to adopt to minimize the cost, it's not possible for the human brain to work at such a complex level, at such a fast level. So we do get in uh, a computer to decide for this kind of operating point at the most optimal in the most optimal way. So as such, this policy of where and how the digital computer should work is given. This policy is made by yet another computer, which is called supervisory control. So we are doing is that what we are doing is that we have a computer that coordinates the activities of basic DDCs. So all these DDCs are placed under another computer. We have a supervisory control, and these DDCs, they can be distributed over geographically different locations. They can be distributed functionally, and this distribution can be over several miles as such. So we have a supervisory control with a large and strong communication network, which is able to have an overall control on these DDCs, and this is what forms the basis of what we'll be studying in the advanced course about distributed control systems, which we shall be studying, I'm again saying, in the advanced course. Coming to the third kind of computer control, which is not exactly in our scope of the syllabus, but just touching upon, is we have scheduling computer control. So the computer can be used to schedule the operation of the plant. Scheduling is different from optimization. Let me tell you, scheduling is different from optimization. In optimization, what we know is that the production is fixed, the input is fixed, the output is to be maximized, the cost is to be reduced, but we have an idea of how much should be the total production. But in scheduling, we actually schedule the product mix. Let me tell you how. The conditions in market, they keep on changing. The demand, supply, prices keep on changing. The requirement is that we have to cut the production cost. We don't want overstocking. We don't want the stock to go nil. We want more products, new products to be made in the product line and so on. So all these decisions are made rationally and with the help of a digital computer, depending upon whatsoever is the market scene, whatsoever is the requirement. And these decisions made by the scheduling computer control, in turn, they will communicate with the supervisory control of the process. And those supervisory control of the process, those computers will in turn talk to DDC. So as the supervisory controllers talk to DDCs, the DDC means direct digital control. They will be uh, controlling a smaller number of loops as the technology is becoming higher and higher. So we not putting large number of loops under one computer. Computers are becoming cheaper, so we are making smaller computers, larger number of computers, so that in case even if one computer or two computers fail, the whole plant doesn't come down immediately. So these DDCs are under the control of supervisory control, and the supervisory control is again under the control of scheduling computer, which is going to schedule the entire thing as far as the production is concerned. So we will be mostly dealing with the DDCs kind of controls and the supervisory kind of controls, or even with the DCS, we call it as direct, instead of going in for direct, distributed control systems, DCS, distributed control systems. That's what we're going to go in for. And scheduling computer as such is not in our syllabus, so we will just put a full stop over here. Friends, now you know that computers have a great deal of say in process control. To sum up, they can be used in direct digital control, they can be used in supervisory control, they can be used in the newer form of what we call it as distributed control systems, which is again a mix of DDC and supervisory control to a greater extent. We will be discussing in the next courses and so on. And the third way is scheduling computer control, which we have just touched upon at this stage. You have any queries, you can let me know or interact with me through WhatsApp or Zooms or direct telephone call or face-to-face interactions as the case may be. I hope you have understood and you feel more excited now to know about the use of computers in control of a chemical process. I thank you for being with me and I wish you a very safe stay. Enjoy learning. Bye bye.